All right.
Okay, we are back. HJ Platinum Podcast. We're back again. Today we are with Mr. Ray Bunton, who is an agent for HJ Platinum. He's also a phenom when it comes to any type of financing. Ray does auto financing and things like that. Well, hey, Ray, that's real. When you're doing a real estate, you've been doing financing for years in the auto
Yeah.
world.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of the stuff cross over when it comes to homes, and so I would consider you an expert in just financing, questions because most of that stuff overlaps. But again, Ray, today we're talking a little bit. I want to introduce you, and you want to give us a little story about your background and kind of where you're from and what got you into real estate.
What got me into real estate is something I just finally had the time to actually put some effort into going to class and getting the things out of the way that you have to get started to get done to get in the real estate business. I didn't know it took so much to get started in the real estate business. I come from the car business, retail side, and pretty much all you got to do is walk into a dealership in Michigan, where I'm from. And I started in the car business. You just walk in a dealership, fill out an application, get an interview, and start working. Knowing little or nothing about the car business, and just getting trained as you go along, learning from your mistakes in that business. But real estate business is a lot different. You have to take a class, you got to get licensed. There's a lot of things that go into it, and I think more than anything, a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't realize, is that it helps if you are a native of the place that you're trying to be a real estate agent in. So you know the people that you have relationships that you can build on, and those relationships are what actually makes you and helps you grow in this business. You'll get some new clients in here and there, but a majority of what happens in the real estate market is from relationships, just like the car business, but it's a longer sales process. It's a different type of relationship. It's a different beast altogether, but I'm enjoying it so far. I can definitely say that.
Okay, yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, no, absolutely. So what do you think, as far as you getting into this industry, what was the biggest surprise that you thought was for the case, and you realized, whoa, this is different, or this is better, or this is worse, or this is way more challenging, or way easier than I thought. What did you notice?
Uh, Getting started, getting your first client. I think it's we as people out here who jump into, you jump from one job to another when you're in the marketplace and in the jobs as you're out there as it is. And jumping from one place to another, you just jump in and you get started, you go. The real estate market is not like that. You can't just jump in and go. It takes time. You have money that you have to invest if you want to get started with clients that you want to get listings, just to get your license. Here in California, it's quite a bit of money, to go through all that. Then you have to be a part of an association. There's a lot of expenses that are entailed that you entail, trying to get to that point where you can actually get off the ramp and start moving. I've invested into a lead service provider. I've invested into my license. I've invested into being a part of the real estate association here and some other uh, memberships from here and there, just trying to build relationships. So it's a longer process. It's not like you're just gonna jump in and start running. You gotta definitely crawl before you walk in this business. And nothing else I've ever sold is quite like this at all.
Yeah, no, that's you said a mouthful there. That's absolutely true. Um, So when you get started, I mean, everyone has this idea of what they believe this industry is going to be. And you come in with these, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and like, okay, now go make this money, go out and get it, see these sales. And like Ray was saying, a lot of times it becomes a challenge. Like you think and you get in, it's like, wait a minute, where do I get my first deal? Right? What happens? How do I get a client? Like and I think a lot of agents run into the same problem. It's like you get in, you have all these beautiful trainings, they take you go through the class, you sit in the classroom. Like a lot of these major, like these big brokerage offices, they'll have training classes sitting so you can sit in and you can listen about, how to write a contract or how to, farm an area, or you'll get like different area, but it doesn't become real to you until you have a client, right? And so a lot of times your clients are going to be somebody you, like Ray, you said people you know, right? Or someone you know who refers to somebody that you know, and no one wants to be the first one, right? Everyone's afraid to be your first. I don't want to be the first person that you do a deal with because you know, but in this industry, you know, it's so, you have so much support. It's really hard to make a mistake unless you do it intentionally. Really, it's hard to make a mistake in this industry because there's so many checks and balances. Now we are the only. It was funny today. We're the only one of the only self-regulated companies, self-regulated industries, right? So, you know, if you're a real estate agent, there's really not much oversight. Right now, if you're a realtor, we're subject to NAR or CAR. So there's standards, codes of conduct we have to abide by, right? And so those things kind of hold us more accountable because you're part of that association and you have to abide by those guidelines. So we decided, hey, we're going to regulate each other in this, and we're going to hold each other accountable to these standards that we've set. But if you're not a part of the association, you're not held to those. You do what you want. You kind of can go rogue and get yourself in trouble. But right, we kind of hold the ethics and standards ourselves.
Well,
So
I was fortunate enough to run across someone like yourself. I've heard a lot of horror stories about people getting started in this business. And I think you even told me a little bit of it, working in some places where you'll become an agent in a brokerage and you're not getting the support and guidance that you need. Had I not had you as a guidance instructor and somebody who was there to help, not just to help me and to help yourself, but you're there to help people. I mean, I've seen you help agents that have come and gone, maybe came over and you helped them a little bit and they left. But, had I not had you as a guidance counselor or guidance person here on this side, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I probably would have given up already because, if you don't have someone telling you, hey, look, this is what you got to do to get clients. This is where you got to go. This is the associations and the relationships you have to build. Giving me and the rest of our agents in our brokerage, the platform to reach out and have we've got the relationship we have with GB. It's Golden
Bay.
Yeah, Golden Bay. You don't get those kind of opportunities. From me just talking to other agents who started out there, I've talked to people who are out there. They're like, you got what? You can do what? You got all that under one roof? Yeah, we have that opportunity. So this was a blessing in itself. But had I not had that, I probably would be just like everybody else, including my own father, who started in the real estate business when he was a teacher back in the day and had all kinds of relationships. He was, the president of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. He probably could have been a great real estate agent, but he had nobody giving him the guidance back then. So it's a blessing, and I'm fortunate to have you. And I hope this continues for a long time. But had I not had it, I would not be here. I'm almost assured of that. I just would not.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and really, I think the biggest for me is just to add value, right? I've always wanted to be able to add a value and provide some type of benefit because people have paved the way in my life, right? It's the same way. We have people who step up and say, hey, I don't need nothing from you. Let me just, I know the information. Let me share it with you, right? Let me help you because at some point you'll be successful and then you'll share with somebody else. And that's just how this thing works. And in a small way, we're making the world a better place in one step at a time or one person at a time. But reality is if you can be successful and help somebody else do the same thing, and I'm not telling you I know everything because I don't. I don't know it all in this industry, but what I do know, I'm willing to share it, and I'm confident in the areas I am good at, right? And so those are things. And if I don't know, I love it. I love finding challenges that I don't know. I love finding deals or something I've never seen before. Like for example, I got a phone call the other day from one of my lead generations, and he called me and said, "Hey, I want to buy a house." I said, "Easy, all day, let's do it." He said, two things. I'm in the United States. I'm not a citizen. I'm here on asylum. He said, and I own a business, but I want to buy a house. Can I do it? I'm like, never had that question posed to me before. Let me make some phone calls, right? So those are things that you gotta actually go back and you gotta research and you find out and you get answers. And guess what? I got an extra tool in my tool belt now. I can answer that question, right? Things like that. You know, somebody has a question about their family member who passed away and they want to sell their house and they think they can just walk around and sell it. And you're like, oh, you can't just sell it. There's the process you got to go through. You got to make, there's some steps you have to take before you can just sell the property, right? Somebody who filed bankruptcy, they were like, hey, I want to, now that everything's cleared out, now I want to sell the house. There's some steps you got to go through. It's not as simple. A divorce, somebody's getting divorced. They want to sell the house. There's steps they got to go, all these things. And that's kind of why you as each time you get these deals, you get better because you learn how to do them. And after a while, nothing stumps you. You're like, I've seen that. I've done that one. That's easy. Let me show you. And so that's kind of, I've had a lot of challenging transactions. And so I pride myself in like, bring them on. Let's go. Let's take them. I don't get too many easy ones. Let me get the hard. I don't mind the hard transactions though. Just the way it is.
So I got to go back to my original statement then, because this sounds a little bit like the car business that I've been a part of for 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn from trial and error. That's what it sounds like you're doing there. And sharing information, like I still have people call me to this day, family members, friends, people who know friends of friends, who call me and say, Ray, I'm getting ready to buy a car. What is your advice? I'm getting ready to finance it. How would you go about doing this, that, and the other? So you're right. I guess they do kind of go step in step, which, hopefully it translates to a successful side of the real estate business for me as it was in the car business. I enjoyed that business quite some time, and it was good to me and my family. So I cannot, but I really wanted to always show houses. I've always got this affinity for, I love houses. I love it, the style, looking at different houses, how somebody maybe did their house here, maybe did their house here, and how they put things together. It's always fascinated me. And I love walking through them. It's one of those things you have an affinity for, and that's part of the reason why I'm in it. I also want to just help people get something they really wanted. It's a big ticket item. Housing, it changes people's lives. Where you live and where you reside can change your life. It can make a difference or break you or make you in the long run. Your family, where they go to school, where the kids go to school, where you participate, where you go to church, all those things fall in line. And I like that, it's
100%.
something intrigued me.
And Ray, I called you for car advice before I bought a car.
Right.
I called you. So yeah, you're right, man. There's a value at 100%. And I'll tell you this, I'm right with you. Like I love helping people. And I remember after I bought my first house and I bought a second house, I was a manager at one of these retail locations at a wireless store. And I remember working with one of my associates, and she was telling me how she's tired of paying rent and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, why don't you just go buy a house? And she laughed at me. I'm not buying. I can't afford a house. I said, you make really good money at this store. You make really good money. Let's go buy a house. I can't buy a house. And so I was like, I called my realtor. I said, realtor, can you talk to her, please? He talked to her. A few months later, she was closing on her house. She was super happy. She was nervous and scared. She closed on her house. I got a call a few years after she closed, and she called me and she was like, Herm, I gotta thank you so much. You changed like my family life. We just made $150,000 because the market just increased. I sold my house. I did this and that. I bought another house. I put money up. I'm actually now investing. Oh my gosh, my life has changed from buying one house. And I was like, hey, what? I wasn't even a realtor.
Yeah, man, that had to make you see that right there, man. That's what I'm looking forward to right there.
Yeah.
That'll make my heart swell right there, man.
Yeah.
For real. Have somebody do that. Absolutely.
100%. And I felt like, I mean, those stories come all the time now that I sell a lot more houses, but it's just that it's knowing that another person bought a house, and I remember having a conversation before she purchased it. I'm not gonna buy a house. I'm taking all my money out of my 401k. I gotta pull out $10,000. This is ridiculous. Do you think that's a good idea? I said, well, how long have you been saving money in your 401k? I've been saving it for 15 years. All right. And it's 10 grand. So yeah, I said, well, I'm going to tell you this. I think if you buy a house and you use that, you buy a house and you end up paying your mortgage down, I think in 15 years, you're going to have more than $10,000 in equity. That was my thought. I got a call not even a year later. I checked my Zillow. I'm up $100,000. So I should have bought a house a long time ago.
Long time ago, right?
And I just laughed You know, it's those stories that make you smile because it's like you see it all the time, but you can tell somebody till you blue in the face, and everybody knows it all. Everybody has all the answers, so you can tell them, oh, I already know. Oh, I know. I'm ready. I'm gonna wait until the market corrects, and I'm gonna. They got all the answers, so you just be like, okay, you can't fight with nobody. You're not gonna fight them into buying a house. It's all about timing. When the
So,
time is right, they're gonna do it.
so tell me about, since you've been in the business, what, seven plus years?
I've been licensed for 7 years. Yeah.
What was your first car deal? I mean, your first real estate deal like?
Woo! So my first deal, I was struggling to, you got to pay all those dues, right? So not making no money. I'm paying his broker fees every month. I'm paying real estate dues every quarter. I'm paying the association dues. I'm paying Metro List. I'm like, I'm paying all this money. I'm not making a dime, but just in case I'm making money, I'm gonna still keep paying it because at some point I'm gonna close the deal. Now, granted, I wasn't putting a whole lot of effort into because I didn't know where to go. I didn't have a direction. So I was like, how do I find a client? I don't even know what to do. How do I market myself? So I'm playing ball at the gym, and my boy comes up to me, he's like, hey, Herm, my girl wants to buy a house. She wants to take a look at this house. Can you take her? And I was like, yeah, sure. No problem. Nothing. It's nothing. Only to know that being transparent, I had no clue how to get in that door. I didn't have no measure because I didn't pay for the key. My key was inactive. I didn't have because I didn't feel like I didn't have the money to pay for it. So I'm like, I'm broke. I can't pay for that key. So I was nervous, but I'm like, I'll figure this thing out. I'm gonna figure out how to get in the house. I'm gonna get. If I gotta call one of my buddies to let me in, we're gonna get in. It just so happened that when I got to the house, it had a combination code on there, so I didn't need my actual lockbox. So I ended up calling Metro List, and I paid for my dues, so I had the access, but I hadn't activated my key, so I didn't have it working. Anyway, I got it. I was able to use the combo. Got in the house. Showed one house. Right?
That's it?
One house. Wrote the offer that same evening. Didn't know how to write the offer. Had to call my team. The guy who got me on the team, who helped me out. He was like, you don't know how to do that? I said, I don't know what I'm doing. So he walked me through the offer. We went through it. It was really easy. It was overwhelming, but we did it. And then he tried to explain to me what I was supposed to explain when I called the buyer back. And I'm like, I'm supposed to tell him what? So I had to kind of figure out what I was talking about. And then talking to the other agent and making mistakes. Oh my gosh. So I just said at the beginning, you don't make a lot of mistakes. I did that first transaction. And the first mistake I made was getting contract. Come to find out, I got my buyer a really good deal. Didn't know it at the time. Got a really good deal. So we ended up with like 15,000 in equity. We bought the house for, I think it was like 385, I believe. But the appraisal came back in at like 400, like it was like either 395 or 400. It came back like between 10 and 15,000 under where we actually kind of contract that. So we had equity off top. So I was excited. The other agent asks the question. She says, hey, did you guys get your appraisal value? I said, yeah, we're good. He said, can you send over the report so I can take a look at it? Oh, sure. Give me your email. Yeah, I know Ray sounds crazy because I've been telling you, I've been giving you the game, so you know.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't have the game, so no one gave this to me. So I just, okay, here you go. I sent it over. Let me know. And then she got on the phone. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? I said, what do you mean? You guys, this property, the value is way more than what we're in contract for. Oh my gosh. And you guys have been asking for and we've done all these repairs and things like that, fixing the roof and everything. You know what? Don't ask us for anything else because you're not going to get it. And I was like, in fact, if we can find a way out this contract, I'm like, wait, what? Like, wait a minute, that's not how this is supposed to work.
Wow.
And then I called my broker. She's like, what do you never do that? You never give the appraisal out. So I got caught up, but it ended up working out. We closed escrow. My client ended up getting the contract, but she was upset because the seller was her friend. And because it was her friend, she had to go back to her friend and tell her that she lost basically $10,000, $15,000 for her. And her friend's not very happy about that because you're supposed to be my buddy and you're supposed to price the house where you think it's supposed to appraise at, and you appraised it less. It appraised for higher than what you told me. So, the friend wasn't happy, but we closed escrow.
Yeah,
My
but
buyers were happy.
it wasn't on purpose though. You know, it wasn't.
Yeah, she didn't do it on purpose. I mean, she did what she thought, right? She comped it out and she did what she thought was best. But the appraiser felt that it was worth more. And so it worked out in my buyer's behalf. Everybody was happy and we were fired up. But that was my first deal. And I'm thinking what to think. Listen to this, it's gonna be funny, but it was funny now. It's not funny back then. So we get all the way to the closing table, and we're signing at the title company, and my buyer literally has the pen in her hand about getting ready to sign, and we already funded. Everyone they have all the money. We're signing, good to go, last day, and they have the lender funds and my buyer's funds, and they say we cannot disperse funds, and everybody's like, what? And they said, seller has an outstanding bankruptcy. It has not yet been discharged. She cannot receive any funds, which means we can't deliver funds to anybody. So, sorry. And so she can go back to her attorney and talk to her attorney to have her file.
How come that wasn't caught up front?
Everybody asked the same question. That should have been caught a long time ago. Why did you wait? And their excuse was sometimes this happens and, whatever. At that point, it's like,
it's funny you say that because a bankruptcy is, I mean, if you file bankruptcy, it's one of the first things on your credit bureau. It's at the very top.
mm-hmm.
I mean,
nobody was happy. It got caught the day of signing, and then she's like, "Well, you got the only way to fix this right away is to go have the attorney who filed your BK to sign it off and file it with the courts with the judge, so you can get this signed off. We can close, and then that we can close. We'll probably be a week late. We can close." And then she was like, "Well, that attorney's dead." So, because he had passed away, there was no way to get him to sign off on the document.
You had to go to the trustee.
That was, but the judge who signed off on it, it's his documents, so he has to do it because he's the one who filed it.
Right.
So otherwise, you have to go through the whole process all over again with another attorney, and that's gonna take.
So did you guys get the judge to do it, or I mean the trustee?
So
the judge is trustee.
Here's what happened. She happened to work for the court. She was a transfer at one of the court recorders.
Oh, so she could walk right in. Yeah.
She walked in and she had friends that worked there, and so she was able to get it signed off. We closed a week later, so it worked out. But it was touch and go for a minute because everybody was mad. They gave everybody their money back, said we're not closing. It was game over indefinitely, and we ended up saving it and closed a week later.
Cool.
So my buyer's still excited, so it worked out well.
That's some divine power right there that happened right there, man. That just happened because normally it does not happen like that.
Oh no, I know for sure. Yeah. But my point is that was my very first transaction. If that's any indication, and that was one of my easier ones. So you get them going, man. I've had houses where you purchase them, and you have squatters who break in escrow and start living in the house. It's like, so you get a lot of things, man, in this industry. You start to look back on things that you've been through. It's like, what? And so you learn how to kind of navigate each different scenario, and nothing kind of stumps you. After a while, you're like, I got it. Okay. It's not that bad. So you get to the point where you can kind of start handling these. And then when you get something you haven't seen, you're like, all right, let's go. Let's deal with it. Let's figure it out. I've learned to talk to attorneys. I got them on my speed dial. I call my attorneys all the time. So that's how I get through a lot of this stuff, is just, make sure I'm compliant and I'm legal and law, everything that I do. But yeah, that's been my.
Well, cross my fingers, my first one is not like that.
Oh, man. Hey, but it was smooth up until that point, right? It was a smooth transaction up until that point.
Yeah, because you showed one house and she was in, it was done.
100%. And I'm like, and they were like, it doesn't go, Herman, never goes that easily usually. I'm like, smooth, this is easy. Real estate's gonna be simple. And then breaks. So, but no, man, I tell you what, it's definitely rewarding, because that conversation with your buyer in that moment, right? That's never fun, right? Hey, I'm sorry, you can't get the house. What can you do? Right. That's rough, but then you end up closing that. But yeah, no, you end up having deals like that, and they sometimes break, sometimes they don't. But most of the time, like I say, you end up closing. But it's just, you get a lot of deals, so you get a lot of things that.
What are your thoughts on the real estate market now? I mean, you've been through some good times and some bad times with the real estate market. What are your thoughts now? I mean, everybody's sitting around waiting for the Fed to lower rates, so we can finally have a housing market again. I mean, what are your thoughts? You've seen both sides.
I'm going to say it's always a good market for somebody. Right? It's always a good market for somebody, whether it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. It's always a good market for somebody, right? When the rates are super high, sorry, sellers, it's not your market, right? Because the buyers are going to sit back. Well, the buyers who are in the game can now control what happens because there's not a lot of buyers in the game. Now it's a simple supply and demand, right? It sounds salesy, but it's not. I mean, you think about it. It's just if there's a lot of buyers in the game and there's not as much inventory, the sellers get a chance to kind of control the market. Well, if there's a lot of sellers and very few buyers, the buyers now have control of the market. And right now, there's more buyers than sellers, right? Or there's more sellers than buyers, right? There's a lot of people want to sell the property, and they're sitting for 200, 300 days. You sit it for a year, the house we saw today was sitting for since May of last year, right? So you sit that long, who sits in control now, the buyer or the seller, right? You've been sitting for 7, 8 months. I think I control this time. Now I'm going to I'll write the offer the way I want to write it. So you can ask for whatever you want to ask for, but as a buyer, I'm going to give you what I feel like your house is worth. You can take it or leave it. There's too many houses out here.
So have you, and with that said, I lost my train of thought, man. Do you think that buyers, since the buyers are not, I mean, the sellers are not in control and buyers are, do you think that will flip when the rates change, or
Oh, absolutely. So when the rates go down to 2%, if you were I'm waiting for the market to change. If you're a buyer, what happens? Every buyer who's been waiting to buy, who's been sitting on the fence, is going to hop back in the market. And what are they going to do? Now sellers get to say, like, ha, gotcha. Right? Because sellers are going to sit back and say, now it's my turn. You guys just beat me up the last couple of years because the rates were so high and you guys didn't want to buy. And now it's 2%. Everybody's coming out the woodworks because the money's so cheap. So now,
what you're saying now is if a person's selling their home, they're selling it for an obvious reason. They're desperate in some situation or some way. They got to get rid of that house.
So yes and no, right? Because here's the thing: if you're selling a house right now, you're not going to sell it at top dollar. You're going to end up losing money. You're not going to sell it at the highest amount. But if you're planning on buying something, guess what? Right? You're going to win on the other side. So you're going to lose a little on one side to win on the other side because you're going to have now you have money to put in. So if you sell your house, you're walking with 100,000, 200,000 in equity. So you're going to walk with that money. You're going to walk with cash. And so when you make your offer, because you have so much money down, you can talk a little different game when you're saying, all right, let's make an offer. I just got beat up. I lost 10% on my house. You're going to lose 15 or 20 on yours, right? Because I need to make that money back somehow, right? And then so that's kind of how and you've been sitting for months and months and months and months, and so this is kind of how that works. So that's the reasoning behind it. But that's the nature of the beast right now. These rates the rates are a little high. They're coming down. They're coming down a little bit, but each week they change, so you never know where they're going to be at. But what
history of economics, it says that, when we seem to have a robust economy in the sense of employment, we start seeing that rate change eventually. And I think this year, I think it's going to be like that this year. I think we're going to finally see that after this election is over. I think maybe toward that election time, we might see those rates drop down, hopefully.
Yes, and it's good and bad. Like, it's good that the rates come down, but if you were selling real estate in 2019, 2020, 2021, though, that wasn't a great time for real estate for buyers.
No.
Every house we make offers on, there's multiple offers, sometimes 30 and 40 offers on one house. So, like, if you're a buyer, that was terrible. I had buyers having to go to Galt or have to go to Stockton. They couldn't live in the areas they want to live in. They got pushed out because they couldn't afford to buy. Like, they would come in here, and all the Bay Area people were coming because of the pandemic. Everybody was coming up here from the Bay, and they were just beating up our buyers. Like, I had buyers with really good credit, 800 plus, 200K in the bank, making 200K a year, doing really good in themselves. Can't get a house.
So how do you get that message out to people out here, man, that are sitting back waiting for something like that to change? Like, because to me, it's almost like the car business, waiting on incentives in the car business. People always sitting around waiting on the incentives to come through. But by that time, the car that you were looking for
No.
is no longer available. It's not out there anymore with the options that you wanted. So you selling for some car that you really didn't want for the incentives that you wanted and the rebates that you wanted. So how do you get that message out to some people out there to say, hey, look, you need to buy now? You know, out of all the time, you know, we don't worry about rate. We can get the rate handled. How do you get that message out there?
Well, see, here's the good thing about rate, right? So remember what I just told you. When the rates are high, the prices go down of homes. When the rates go down, the prices of houses generally go up. So what happens is if you lock in a 6.5% interest rate for a lower price, when the rates go down to 2% and your value goes up, refinance, get the 2% rate, and now you're really winning. But the question you asked me is about how to get the message out to people, and this becomes that's the question of the hour, because you can talk to people till you blue in the face. The problem is people think you're selling them, right? If you start talking too much about, oh, this is the great, you sound salesy, right? So you kind of got to be careful on how you. I tell everybody it's about their own timing. You walk your own timing. Whenever you're ready, let me know, because I'm not going to pressure you into buying. It's your time. Whenever you're ready and you feel like your finances and things are in order and you really want to do it, go ahead. I've got people telling me, I've got some people telling me, oh, I'm waiting for the market to do this and do that. Okay. You know, it is what it is, right? You're not going to speed nobody up. When they're ready, when they get it, they'll do it. If not, I mean, I'm not going to twist nobody's arm to buy a house, right? If you want to continue to rent, you go ahead and continue to rent. But when you're ready, let's go, right? I know your landlord is going to appreciate it. I'm a landlord. I appreciate when you keep renting. I'm not mad, right? But at some point, you're going to want to buy. And when you're ready, just give me a call. But it's tough, right? Because that's a tough line, because a lot of times people think once you start telling them the great time to buy is now, the rates are high. Oh yeah, right. It's terrible. I heard everybody's telling me it's the worst time to buy. Oh, okay. All right. And then when it's 2%, it's like it's a great time to buy. And you're looking at overpaying for your house, right? Because you're gonna have to overpay for it to get your offer accepted.
Right, to get right. Absolutely.
So 2%, you're paying top dollar for that, because the seller knows that everybody's getting money for cheap. They're getting this house for cheap because the money costs less. At 2%, I'm going to go ahead and I'll pay $1 million for your house. That's only worth. I was seeing tract homes go for $1 million during the pandemic, like during the height of that 2%. I'm like, people are really buying $1 billion tract homes. These homes are
what's a tract home?
Like the homes that they're building, like just you got zero lot lines that they're all in like a regular neighborhood. Just just the neighborhood, like they're building these new houses and down the street. There's 675, 700. They're going for $1 million. Because you're like, why? Because the developer decided people are paying more for it. Money's cheap. Because guess what? Your payment's the same as if it was if you're paying, at 680 or at 700,000 at 2% is the same at $1 million. That's whatever, right? You get what I'm saying. But if you pay $1 million at 2%, is they're trying to argue that if you pay 750 at 8%, you're pretty close to your payment, right? So,
and most people are paying the buyers. They're paying the buyers.
Right. Yeah. So the buyer's just thinking, I got a 2% loan. And that sounds great if you can get it for the right terms, but I'm looking at more of the deal. Like, look at terms. Like, what am I getting this house for? Right. Because at some point it's still an investment. Right. And so $1 million is different than 750 when, yes, it might be a 6%. I won't keep this rate forever, but I got the house for 750, and in 2 years it's gonna be $1 million, it's gonna be $1 million. If rates go down, it's around worth $1 million, and now I got equity. If I want to sell it when it goes up to $1 million, I can sell it then, right? I can go sell it if I want to. But the problem is, here's what happens though, in those high markets, this is what happens. You sell your house, you make 250 and somebody overpaid for it, but now you got to go overpay to buy a house. So it's like, man, in every market, that's why you ask, what's the good time to buy? It's just timing, man, because it's tough
when you're ready to buy is a good time to buy.
Yeah, when you can do it, you can afford it. When it makes sense, and when you can do it, it makes you buy. But if you're hesitant for any reason, if you feel like it's not a good, your life's not in the position to do it, don't do it.
But when you explain to somebody, listen, if you buy now while the rates are high, and we can get your rate down to a reasonable place, and then when rates go down again, your value of your stuff is going to. You can't really give that advice to a person out there by law, right? You can't say,
right. Look, we're not going to tell them that, because we don't know, right? This is all variables, right? We can say what's happened in the past and what's what's happened. Hey, usually in this situation, this is how it works. When rates go down, prices go up. That's generally, and that's just talking just economics, right? Supply and demand economics, right? That's just how it works. We can't say anything indefinite because can't say, oh, this always happens, but more times than not, this is what it looks like, right?
Historically speaking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, correct. And again, we know that historically speaking, real estate always goes up over time. That house that you bought in 1905 is going to be worth a lot more in 2005. Right. That's just the nature of the beast. It's going to be higher. Same exact house. And so inflation and all those things play a role in it. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. But yeah, no, I mean, asking that question about that's a doozy. That's a doozy. A lot of times people just don't want to shake up their comfort zone. I think that's more than anything else. It's like, I'm nervous. I don't know if this is a good time. And you know how it is, buying your first house is all. I know I bought my first house. I was so nervous. You know, oh, what's gonna happen? And you never know. But it's always a gamble doing something of that magnitude, right? It's a big house. That's my biggest purchase I ever made in my life. I've been saving up all this money to put down on the house. And so now I'm scared. But what's the alternative? I can keep renting.
All right. So off the record, off the real estate side, some fun things to talk about in real life. I know you're a big movie buff.
Oh, for sure.
You like movies like I like movies. What's the last good movie you recently saw that you enjoyed that you would recommend?
Whew. Man, we see all of them, man. We go to movies every week, every Friday, me and my wife. So
every Friday?
Every Friday. It's our day night. Okay. But every now and again we'll do comedy shows, but for the most part, we go see a movie. If I can stay awake through them, I sleep a lot. I get good rest in those movies, but can't lie to you. I get a lot of rest in those movies. But the last movie I stayed awake through and I did not fall asleep. What's the name of that movie? I saw a couple good ones, man. We saw a couple good ones lately.
I saw American Fiction. Have you seen that?
I did see that one. We saw it on Friday.
Yeah, I saw American Fiction. That was good. It was good.
It was funny. The title of the book.
That was a really good movie to me, man.
Funny.
It was.
It was good. I stayed awake for the majority of that movie. I did have a quick nap, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I stayed for the majority. I stayed awake. There was a part in it kind of got slow. But as soon as I sit down, man, I go so much throughout the day. Every time I sit down, and we usually go to a studio movie grill, so we eat and we'll sit, we'll eat at the movie.
And it's so dark and comfortable in there with those big comfy chairs, right?
You get some rest, and the chairs recline now, so you get to recline.
Shout out to Studio Movie Grill.
Oh yeah, also shout out to that Lux, Claudio Lux in Folsom. I've done that as well. That one is super nice.
I haven't seen that. I haven't been there yet.
Oh my goodness, their chairs are way more comfortable. But their food menu is not. They don't have as extensive variety of food, but their food's good. Like they have shrimp and grits, and they have some. Yeah, man, that stuff's good, man. They got good food there too. Oh yeah, they Studio Movie Grill is good, man. That Claudio Lux is really good. But they got both places.
So is that the best movie you've seen so far recently?
No, that was your movie. That was yours. That wasn't mine. That was yours. The movie I'm thinking of. It's crazy because there's no A-list actors in this movie, but it was the best one I've seen. It was like it's the backyard with the pool. It's I can tell you the name of that dang old movie. It's in theaters still right now.
What is it about?
It's about the pool or the kid. It's about basically this is like haunted pool basically in the back. It's a horror movie, but it's about a kid. Okay. It's about a pool in the backyard where they bought a house. It's funny. It's about real estate, I guess. They purchased a house and the pool was they drained it, so the pool was drained. They had it all boarded up, like don't mess with the pool. And then they put the water back in it, undrained it, and the pool was it was built on Indian burial ground. So. Anyway, the pool had magical, so it had healing properties. So if you got in the pool and you had an ailment, it would heal you, but it would hurt somebody in your family. So that's kind of how it was. plus one, minus one type of thing. And
Mm.
anyway, I didn't fall asleep, stayed up the whole movie. Night Swim. Night Swim was called.
Okay.
That was probably the best movie I've seen in a while. It was really good. I know it sounds crazy because it's not like an A-list type movie, but I really enjoy it. It just it kept you engaged the entire movie. It was not a dull moment.
Okay.
It kept me in. I saw that one. I saw the new one with the bee,
The
what's it
beekeeper.
called? The Beekeeper with Jason
Beekeeper. Yeah.
Statham. Yeah, I
I
saw
saw
that.
that. I saw that.
I got a lot of rest in that one. I got a lot. I had a hard time, man. I'm telling you, I'm not lying to you, Ray. I seen The Color Purple. Got some rest in that one.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but no, we try to go out every Friday. That's our date night. But and we're going again this Friday. I don't know. We're gonna watch it. We just kind of pick one. On Thursday night. We just what haven't we seen? Let's go see it. So it's kind of fun. But anyway, yeah, that's been good, man. And it's always nice. I try to do it on the Fridays because I try to get all my house showings and stuff on Saturdays and Sundays, so it makes it a little easier. My Saturday's already filling up right now, but yeah, no, that's been the exciting part. But anyway, I guess the Ray, I'm gonna ask you this question, Ray. Um, if you were to give advice to somebody who said, "I want to be an agent, I want to do this. This is what I want to do for my career." What advice would you give them? I know you're fairly new to the industry, but what advice would you give someone just starting out?
Plan ahead. And when I say plan ahead, I mean, um, if they're fortunate enough to have somebody like you and be able to listen to this podcast, sit down and think about your network. The network, and when I say network, the people you know, and the things that they do for a living, because in the long run, that's where you're going to be able to mine for people, that can potentially be clients at some point or not. Save up some money, because it will be, there's some expense to being an agent, but having that networking, knowing how to work that network and having it available to you, any associations churches, any membership things you're involved in, any community service you're involved in, get involved in it if you're not involved in it now. Get to know people. The more people you know are more clients for you. That would be some of my advice to anybody getting out there and trying to do this. Unless you have, a brokerage you work for that just hands you out clients all the time. You've got to create your own. It's not that type of business where you can walk in, like when you worked in a cell phone shop, the cell phones are already there. You just got customers walking in the door. I worked in the car business. We advertise to get people in the door, but you got people walking in potentially. You don't have that in the real estate business. Nobody's picking up the phone and calling you just because you became an agent.
Right.
So it's a long process. It's a lot longer than you would probably expect. But plan ahead, make good plans and get that network going.
I love it. I love it. And my advice to the newbies is find a local stakeholder who's in the area who you can like partner with is not in the industry. That's somebody who's adjacent to what you do. If you're an agent, there may be some divorce attorney that you are friends with that you may not even think about, or that's in the area that you want to have lunch with, that you want to talk about. Hey, maybe we can partner up, and I can throw people that are your way that looking to have a question about divorce. And if they hit a divorce, if they end up going through it, you can send them my way when they want to sell their property. Probate attorneys. If someone says, "Hey, looking at might be passing away. Hey, I'll pass you some clients. Their grandparent, great grandparent just passed, left them some property. They got to do a probate. I'll send them your way. You send them my way, type of thing. You can work that relationship. Estate planning. Your seller's going to sell a house and make a whole bunch of money. They're going to have to put it somewhere, and they got to have to learn how to find a good estate planner who can help them plan their estates or stuff like that. I think that's always important. So,
And,
especially,
and that's important even to you because you've been around the business for a long time.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah,
And I
right.
still have lunches and I still meet with new clients because I think it's important to do that, to keep your network fresh, because you're always trying to meet new people and just and you can add value. Even if you can add value and it doesn't reciprocate right away, it may not ever reciprocate, but You don't go into it looking for, hey, you do this for me, I do this for you. It's like, hey, I want to add a value. I can't do nothing with this anyway. This is not my industry, right? I don't do any. I used to tell them, I don't have anyone for you. So, but now it's like I got a little network that I can send you some people. They're licensed and it looks like here's some good options you may look at. But yeah, no, it's definitely, you definitely got to kind of use that, especially when you don't have a big network. And even when you do have a big network, you're going to get people who are going to call you and say, hey, I just bought a house. And like, wait, what happened? I thought I thought I was your cousin. What you mean? But it's just going to happen. It's just, you're going to end up having that happen. It's okay. It's just learning lessons. And that's going to happen with you and other people. Like, oh, I thought I was your brother and you're supposed to use me and why'd you use Herman? And stuff like that's going to happen on both sides. And it is what it is. But that's my recommendations. Just when you, like Ray, you made a good point. Utilize your network, because a lot of times in your network you have these people already. You just don't think about it. So just think about who you can be a value, you can add value for, who you can be a resource for. Hey, I want to help you out. Maybe it's your church, maybe it's your maybe you're at the Rotary Club, maybe you were a member of the chamber, maybe you're whatever it is. You just want to add value. You can do a workshop at the school and say, hey, here's the workshop. I'm going to show you guys how to get your credit right so you can then buy a house down the road in 2 or 3 years. Whatever the case may be, I want to be a resource. But no, that's good stuff, Ray. But yeah, we can take this all day long, man. You talking my language, Ray. This is all good, but I kind of wrap this thing up. I know it's been a little bit of we've been on for a little while now.
Yeah, we've been on for a minute, man. Been on for a minute.
So, and Ray just got back.
I like doing this, man. Next time we're gonna have, I'm gonna have a better, maybe a better itinerary we can run down too, man. I like doing this. This is fun.
Absolutely. Well, we'll keep it going. And Ray, we're still planning on doing our youth summit. I got to get the things squared away, but it's funny. It might actually be in Sacramento. I think I'll talk to you more offline, but our career summit may be in Sacramento. I think I got a new location, I think, in mind. So we'll keep in touch about that. But aside from that, is there anything you want to add as far as you want to tell anybody, or drop your email, drop your name about?
Hey, if you if you're looking to buy a house and you want to be my first client,
let's go, Ray.
Call 916-297-1530, Ray Bunton. And nobody's gonna work harder than me. I can tell you that.
Let's go. And I got his back, so he ready to go. Let's do it, Ray.
I got it won't be a disaster your first time through, because I got Herm.
Absolutely. Well, all right, Ray. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to HJ Platinum Realty Podcast. And until next time, have a great week.
All right.